Hi Flosstube, this is Stephanie with Kate's Crafts, and I am back to do my 2021 WIP Parade. I'm a little late in filming this, but I'm only a couple days late. I am sure you're still out there watching WIP Parades, and hopefully you can get some stitching done. I do expect this to be, a long one, like most WIP Parades are. So settle back with a coffee or a tea, and or some stitching, and I hope you guys enjoy. Um, Today is Wednesday, January 5th, and I am on day 3 of virtual school again. So I'm filming this at night. I have some auxiliary lighting here to try and help, and the kids are asleep. So hopefully this all goes well. I have some hot cocoa because it's late. If this is your first time finding my channel, especially looking for WIP parades, again, my channel is Kate's Crafts, and that's my Instagram name as well. I'd love for you to follow me over there, and I can follow you back. I'd love for you to leave a comment and subscribe if you like. And I always like to hear what people's favorite WIPs of mine. So if you can leave some comments, I'd love to hear which WIPs you like, or which ones we have in common, or which ones you think I should work on, that kind of thing. Always love the feedback. So with that, we'll get started. I did really good tracking my WIPs when I started stitching in May of 2020, when I started again, I should say, in May of 2020, and through roughly like October of 2020. And then after that, I really fell off the deep end, like marking start dates and whatnot. I have all my WIPs over here, but they're kind of based by size of project bag. They're not in chronological order. So we're just going to kind of go through it. And if I have a start date, I have my WIP tracker on my screen in front of me here. I'll mention it. Otherwise, I know roughly the time that I started stitching things. So that will dig in. And I think I'll go small to large. I'll do it that way. And for those on headphones, if zippers or Velcro bother you, I'm sorry. But a lot of my projects are in zipper bags. So, all right. First up is Comfort and Joy. And I think I have the cover art for this. And this is by Misty Purcell of Luminous Fibre Arts. This was from the winter 2020 primitive punch needle and primitive stitching, Comfort and Joy. And I am stitching this on, this is 20 count Ada from Brandy at Bestitch Me. It is from a Friday Night Fight Night, and I apologize, I also did not iron all of these. And some of these I've been working on lately, so they actually have fresh hoop marks. So this is my progress. I actually worked on this since the last time I filmed a Flosstube as well. I did this for 12 days of stitching last year, and I started this, I had basically COMF for comfort. So the rest of that word and the flower and the bird's wing, I filled in on Monday night. So that was New Year stitching. And I'm just stitching that with the called for DMC. So I am going to try and put things back in the bags as I go, otherwise this will be a horrendous mess. So again, bear with me. All right. I do have a couple projects that are going to be UFO'd. This is one of them. I started this in December of 2020 as part of my 12 days of stitching as well. This is from Shushuda cross stitch on Etsy. And I really love this pattern. I just don't like what I did with it. So this is the pattern. It says Believe. And I think that's gorgeous. I started stitching it on this no name, like a mauve color from Brandy at Bestitch Me that I got at a Friday Night Fight Night, and I was stitching it with 3865, and it's too bunchy. It's not laying right. I hate stitching with white and cream, especially on smaller count Ada. I may try again with Sulky, because I really liked the idea of this color with the white on it, but if not, I'll repurpose this for something else. So it's getting UFO'd for right now, but I do want to still stitch this pattern. Right. Next we have, this was also started during the 12 days of stitching last year, and that was run by Katie and Laura from the Black Needle Society. They do this every year. They do the 12 days of stitching, and then Athena, who also works with them with Black Needle Society, does the 13 days of stitching in Halloween. And I think at least one year she did 31 days, but so they kind of do that. So I started, I think, 12 new starts last year, and I did that in Flossmas. My Flossmas this year was a complete disaster, so I apologize for that. But the pattern here is ink circles. The pattern is called Valentina, and I am stitching this on a no name Friday Night Fight Night for AbbieSue Stitch Me. This is 22 count heart hanger. It's very soft, even weave, but it is not Ida. And I am stitching it with some silk dyed by Brandy at Stitch Me as well. So this is like purple on purple. And I'm just about, I think, 40% done. But I really love this pattern. And this one should be an easy finish for next year. I do have a lot of my plans mapped out, and I will probably do those in a video next week, kind of laying out how I'm planning to move forward with the month of January as well as the rest of the year with challenges. But I will comment here and there of things that are on my WIP Go board or that I'm using for major focus pieces. But this for a finish is definitely on my WIP Go board. All right, what do we have next? Well, this one is a WIP that's not a WIP. I should have pulled this out. This was the Woodland Creature Mystery Sal by 4 Boys and an NL Girl last year, which had, I think, 3 or 4 releases of different animals, and there was a moose that was released that I wanted to stitch from that. I have 18 count. This is Opalescent Ada from Charting Creations, and I haven't started it. I put this in my WIP pile, but this should really be my kit pile. So that will be Woodland Moose. All right, this one is called Halloween Sampler. This is also by Shushuda Cross Stitch on Etsy. And I have a preview of this one. I have a little cheat sheet here because I don't have all of these printed out. So this is the Halloween sampler. You can see it there. It's very blocky. It's got, I think, 5 colors, all DMC. It's great for stitching challenges. I used it quite a bit this year. Well, sort of. It has like a spider web, a bird, an owl, a ghost, a cauldron, a skull, that kind of stuff, right? So it's really good for stitching challenges. I originally started this last year on this 14 count Ada. This is when I was kind of brand new. And this is the stuff that's like really super stiff. This is as far as I got because I really didn't like stitching on it. And so that is getting UFO'd. And I restarted it on 18 count Ada, except I started in the upper left corner this time. And that is as far as I've gotten. But as you can see, it's really fill-in, it's full coverage. So it is really good for stitching challenges. So this one will not be a focus piece or a push to get done, but I usually use that as filler during like stitching retreats and stuff. All right. All right, this next one is in a small project bag that I made. I really like this one. And this chart is Okay, you're gonna laugh. So if you've watched my channel before, you know that I'm very into Disney, and one of my favorite attractions at Disney is one of the original attractions, which is the Enchanted Tiki Room. And I just think the development of animatronics and how that's gone from beginning back at the World's Fair to where it is today, it's amazing. Yes, I'm a nerd, engineering nerd like that. If you have Disney Plus, they have a whole episode on the figures from It's a Small World, and they do talk about like the animals from the Tiki Room and other places and how animatronics have evolved. Anyway, it's very interesting for me. So this chart, I do not have this printed out. I do have it on Pattern Keeper, and I'm going to apologize because the glare is not fantastic. And let's see, I don't even have a preview on there. It's just the chart. Let's see if I can do a mock-up. There's back stitching on this. So there, you can kind of see it there. So it has the 4 birds and some flowers, and the birds all have bird cages around them, their perches, and then the words are backstitched in the middle, and it says all the birds sing words and the flowers croon in the tiki 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 room. You're welcome. If you don't know that song, go listen to it. I love it. Anyway, so that is my lovely little tiki room piece. This again should really almost be a SAF. It's probably minimum 2 day stitching only because there's a lot of backstitch, which can be more of a pain. But this should not carry over into 23. I say that now in January. All right. Oh, this is a new WIP, and actually it's about to be a finish. So for Advents this year, I purchased the Forbidden Fibre Co. Yule Ball box, and I purchased the Fangirl Fibers Holidays in the Magic Kingdom box. Both boxes were fantastic. The Fangirl Fiber ones had a design by Bendy Stitche using the Forbidden Fibre floss that kind of carried through the whole box. And Fangirl Fibers had like 3 or 4 different charts from different designers that kind of were sprinkled throughout. This was the 3rd one that we got. It's by an Etsy seller called Tiki and Stitch. Sensing a theme. And what do we eat before we go into the Tiki Room? Dole Whip. It is not a trip to Disney without Dole Whip. And to be fair, I was having Dole Whip in Hawaii before I had it at Disney, but I'll take what I can get. This is stitched on 32 count linen in the colorway Sleet, which was the December 2020 fabric of the month from Brandy at Stitch Me. I stitched this over 2 over 2. I guess that's right for 32 count. The dark half of the umbrella, this bottom piece of the umbrella, I didn't have that DMC handy. I couldn't find it. I found it today, so I just need to go in and finish the umbrella, but this is where I'm at. And I have some Disney friends that I think I'd like to stitch a couple of these and make some ornaments for, so I have enough fabric to do so. But yeah, this was a fun stitch. So again, that's from Tiki and Stitch on Etsy. And that stitching was 1 day of stitching, so that's definitely a SAF. When I say SAF, I guess I should clarify, since we use all these acronyms in the cross stitch world. If you're watching me, you probably know what a SAF is because you've probably watched a billion other Flosstubes. No one really finds me first. But a SAF is start and finish, so being able to basically start and finish within a day or a day or 2, or at least even in between Flosstube videos. Kind of some people do it that way as well, just for really quick, easy stitches. All right, this is another pattern from that box. This was the first one we got, and this was a pretty awesome one. I got very excited. Sorry. This one is by AbbieSue Designs, and AbbieSue Designs has done a couple, the Cats of Disney and the Dogs of Disney stitch-alongs, and she's just about to release a Fab 50 of Disney for their 50th anniversary. But she released this chart in the Fangirl Fibers box, and Fangirl Fibers has made Needle Minder, so I know the two of them work together. It's a great pairing. I love it. So this one is called 50 Years of Magic, and if you're familiar with the Disney Castle, so this year is the 50th anniversary of the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. Magic Kingdom decorated the castle to celebrate for the 50th, and this is what's charted here. So there's like a 50th medallion, and then all of the turrets have little banners on them, and that's been added for the 50th. This is really cute because it's a snow globe with fireworks in it. I love it. And the phrase at the bottom of the base says, "Here you will leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy," which is a very famous Walt Disney quote. This fabric is from another WIP that you'll see that was UFO'd earlier, so I'm going to leave this fabric out. But this is my start. Oh, this is my start. So this is where the back stitching will be, and the base, and then this is that bottom ring on the snow globe. I am stitching this. This is called the Scotsman, was the colorway from Brandy at Stitch Me. This is I think an 18 or a 20 count Ada. Looks tighter. It looks like a 20. That's usually my go-to on Friday night fight night. And you can see this fabric has got some modeling in it. And I am stitching this 1/2 or 1/1 on Ada with one strand. 2 strands, because of this light color, it just looked really bulky and messy. So I dropped to 1. When I get up into the castle, I may go back to 2, but for right now, I'm doing 1, and it looks pretty good. So. All right. Next, we have another small that is from December of 2020, and this is from the Stitching Book Club and Saphire Mountain Handcrafts. Kristen there. This was the Christmas Carol Mystery Stitch Along. So I don't even have the cover art of what it's going to look like. I have it, my floss is in a bendy flip from Bags Plus. And this is my start. It's a very small piece. This is kind of pathetic. It's a very small start. And this is on that same mystery fabric that Comfort and Joy was stitched on. And there's no reason this is not done other than I just didn't get it done. So I think I have this as a goal to finish this year, so that does not carry into the next year, but I could be wrong. But I know ideally I would have that done. Any of these smalls that are very close, if not on my WIP Go, I will probably use those in like a March matchup situation to try and see how many of them I can bust out, rather than I am trying to WIP down, and I know I'm going to have some things I want to start, so I definitely want to get some of these smaller, WIPs, just finish them. Right? All right, this one I started last year in 21 in March during the March matchups, and I want to say the hashtag was Stitch Asia. I should write down the hashtags. It was, I think, brought about by Abby Bella Stitch, and it was a hashtag to celebrate Asian designers, fabric dyers, floss creators and crafters in the cross stitch community, to bring awareness, not only supporting Asian-owned businesses, but also to highlight violence against the Asian community, especially in the light of the pandemic and the treatment that is really horrific. And so it's to bring awareness to that. and I actually I have Chinese heritage. And so one of the things I decided to do was I purchased the Chinese Zodiac symbols, and this one is the year of the ox. My dad and my sister are both ox. I am a goat, and my mom is a rabbit. So I purchased those 3 charts, and I'm going to chart it in a banner. And then I'd like to finish it, kind of more like a banner with a red, what do you call that, around cording around the edge and whatnot, and finish this for my dad. So that is definitely something I want to get done as well. And this is actually, this is on 28 count Lugana, or sorry, 28 count Monaco, stitch 1/1, just with DMC 304. I like to think that I have all these projects that are super huge, which you'll see. Those are the ones I tend to work on the most, but I do have some small ones that I really should just finish. It's nuts. All right. Okay, this is an Ink Circles design. I do not have, let's see, I don't have the cover art for this, but this is being stitched on this is 18 count Ada from Brandy at Stitch Me, and this is in the colorway Dune, and this is Henna Mandala by Ink Circles. I'm stitching this with a Sulky Blendable in the colorway 410, 12 weight petite. If I remember correctly, that's called Caramel Apple. I could be wrong. This is my progress. I think I am like 38% done. You can see the center medallion, and then this is the farthest out on each side. So just need to finish this. This is going to be a gift for a friend of mine who just had her first baby over the summer, and I want to add like back stitching kind of around 2 of the sides that have her daughter's name and birthday and height, weight, all that good stuff, length at that point. So I do want to finish this. Ideally, she turns 1 in June, so yeah, I should get on that. If I can get behind doing a 25/7 piece, I think this will be it. I generally take this when I travel for work because it's one color, and I can do this easy on a plane because I'm using Pattern Keeper. So, but it's Ink Circles. It's a good pattern. So I expect that to be on my finish list for this year. I know that is on the WIP Go as well. Okay. Almost done with the small bin. This is not much of a start. In lab this past year, my friends Pam, Stitching in the Land of Good Enough, Annie, Joyfield Stitcher, Erin, Two Martini Stitcher, and Michelle, Benny Stitchy. I had never stitched a Barbara Anna piece, and Annie, if you follow her on her channel, as I said, Joyfield Stitcher, you know she is like Barbara Anna, everything. And the other ladies all love Barbara Anna as well, but Annie and I were kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. Not because I didn't like it, just hadn't stitched it, any of her designs. So Dreaming Girl Sal had just finished, which I missed the boat on, and Dreaming Frida came out. So I decided to start Dreaming Frida. We had a Barbara Anna April, which I don't know if we're going to do that again this year. I'll have to check in with the ladies, see if we do that again. So I am typically an upper left starter, maybe a center starter, but I love starting in the upper left. And when she released this Sal, they started in the lower right, which was like blowing my mind. I could not do measurements. I don't know why. Anyway, I am stitching this on a no-name fabric in 18 count Eda from Brandy at Stitch Me. And that is my fantastic start. Yeah. So let's see if I can try and get the fabric to show up. You can kind of see the modeling. It's like a grayish purple. I really love the fabric, and I do want to stitch this. I just, now that the whole chart is released and I have it in Pattern Keeper, I really can just start and go. This should go much farther. I basically mapped it out in Sulky, so I would kind of have an idea of how big it would be, and I could place it on the fabric where I wanted it. I made it entirely too complicated. All right, another ink circles. This one is called Half the Fun, and this was in the On the Go box from the Black Needle Society. That's their bi-monthly subscription box. This was, as I said, designed by Tracy Horner at Ink Circles, and it's all different modes of transportation, repeated in kind of a pinwheel fashion. And I have a rip-roaring start on this. This is a no-name 22 count hardanger from Stitche Me, and this is actually that same fabric that Comfort and Joy and Christmas Carol are on. This is the other half of it, and this is my start. I have a plane, a car, a scooter, and a top of a boat, and then part of a skateboard and a part of a unicycle. I am stitching this in Classic Colorworks Nighty Night. So it's kind of a dark cobalt blue into navy-ish. It's got some model like variegation in there to come up to like a cobalt blue, which is kind of fun. This one is not on my WIP Go. It is not a super big priority, but it's also a fun, easy stitch. So if I pick, I definitely want to touch it at least on its birthday this year. But it's not something I'm gonna, stitch on all the time. All right. The next one is my Hawaiian Mandala sampler. This I am storing right now in a Love You More Studio bag. This is also designed by Ink Circles. This one I have a preview on in Pattern Keeper. Try and kind of keep it out of that light there. This is the Hawaiian alphabet, only has 12 letters. So that is what is at the top. And I'm starting with this big motif down here at the bottom. There are 3 shades of green in this pattern, along with the colors. What I did is I got a silky blendable. I want to say it's called Forest Floor. To be honest, I've misplaced it. I need to find it. But I'm taking anywhere there's green and just stitching it with the silky blendable. And then I've swapped the DMC colors out on the flowers and letters to be fancy floss. So this is my progress so far. I really like this. And I don't think I have the card from Brandy in here. I'm not sure what colorway this is. It might be, I'm not even sure. It might be Dune again, or Grog, or something of that nature. I also have my Fangirl Fibers Mickey Dole Whip needle minder on here. So. This one I just started on New Year's Eve. Again, in a Love You More Studio sleeve. This is on not another sampler. It is by Silver Creek Samplers called Hissed Off. That was cute. I want to make this for my sister. This is on 18 count Ada, and I just have a minimal start. This is the side of the cat's ear. It's kind of like right in that center spot there. So not much of a start. I'm just going to stitch this with the called for DMC. I may pull from stash on some fancy floss if I don't have it all, but I thought, 2021 definitely left a lot of us hissed off, and I thought my sister would find that funny. So, all right. Next up, have my wine. Love You More Studio sleeve. These small patterns are good for storing in there. This one is a joint chart designed by Hands On Design and Summer House Stitchworks. And this is the Cuisine Française. This is our French Kitchen series. This is the box that holds all the pieces. I am not stitching those pieces, but I just liked this piece, and I did buy the charms to kind of hang on my finish. So, oh, sorry, while I'm looking at this, this kind of reminded me. The Hawaiian sampler. If you want to see the top part of it stitched beautifully, check out my friend Gail at Gail's Golden Needle. She just did her WIP Parade as well, and she shows it, and she's got basically the whole top half done. So I'm starting from the bottom, and she's going from the top. But you should check her out. She's got some really great WIPs. All right, so this is my pitiful start. This is 32 count chocolate milk, and I ordered it from 123 Stitch. I'm not exactly sure who. It's not. I think it's just a straight up from like Richard or Swigert or something. But this is my start. I have one little bottle and the start of some of the white next to it. Not much. It was just a couple hours of stitching. So I do not have this on my WIP go, but if I comes up on a challenge or if I have some time to pick something up, I'll for sure touch it, like I said, on hopefully on its birthday, and we'll go from there. I did have to sub out some of the called for because it's called out for mostly in weeks. I did have a couple of them already, but I wasn't buying any weeks, so some of the colors are swapped. All right, and then this is actually a finish and my new start for today. Last year I stitched the, I hope most of you are familiar with the Quirky Quaker series by Darling Whimsy, Darling and Whimsy Designs. I only have the Mythical Creatures pattern chart here, but they all look like that. So we've got the Loch Ness Monster and a unicorn and the Sasquatch, and then she has an alternate for a Yeti. Last year I was gifted the chart of the fox. So I finished Quirky Quaker Fox yesterday. And that is, this is my January WIP go for 2022, was to finish 2 Quirky Quakers. This one was so close to being finished. And I stitched this using Inker floss that was actually handed down from my grandmother. I think the price tags on most of it were from Frank's Nursery and Crafts. That brings back memories. And I want to say some of the flosses were like 29 cents. So, yeah. But this is stitched on 36 count oat linen from Brandy at Stitch Me. Again, that's my little fox. And then for my second one, I am stitching, which I started today, because I love all things penguins. I started the penguin. Still a WIP. He doesn't have a nose or feet yet, and I have the snow down here, but I just have it started on the border. So I will be hopefully finishing that within tomorrow or Friday. This is stitched on just a piece of even weave from, even weave? No, this is linen. No, even weave. This is even weave from Color and Cotton grab bag. So I'm not sure exactly the color of it. But I love all these. I have the owl, and I want to get the moose. So I'll be stitching hopefully a couple of more of these this year as well. All right. Oh, that one's a kit. All right. Oh, and on the other piece of that fabric, I have, this was my new start, just a couple of days ago for New Year's Day. This is in a project bag from my friend Gail from Gail's Golden Needle. I just mentioned she made this bag and I won it in a giveaway on her channel. It has all the Chicago transit maps, and the back has fabric that basically talks different phrases and words and places in Chicago. So I love this bag. It's got a handle. It's very big, adorable. I purchased this chart. My friend Jennifer, she is Frog Stitcher on Instagram, lives local nearby me, and we went up to our what is our LNS Stitches and Things in Fenton, Michigan, and I saw this the day before on Link is My Homeboy's WIP Parade, and I just thought this chart is beautiful. It's called the Siren by the Primitive Hare, and I stitched that. I started it actually on the end of this because this fat quarter is pretty big. Now I think I made pretty good progress for one day of stitching. I'm stitching with all the called for, I believe, at this point. No, I didn't get the Weeks Dye Works Tarragon. I swapped that out for something else. Let me see. But there's my start. I think it's a pretty good start for one day of stitching. And it was actually only about 2.5, 3 hours. If that. And that basically goes from her head here all the way down to here. So I have that whole part done. So I'm hoping to move into her mermaid tail down here and then pick up the border so I can kind of just finish the border. What did I swap that out for? Since I have it here. I swapped it for, this is it. This must be it. Garden or Deep Forest by the Gentle Art. So, and I have, I think instead of, there was another one I swapped Black Coffee in instead of Carriage Black. Yeah, so I have Garden Gate, Black Coffee, Moonlit Path, and Deep Forest. All right, that's the end of tub 1. Now we have tub 2. All right, everybody doing okay? Hanging in there? We're almost 40 minutes in-ish. Trying not to talk too fast, but I also know you don't want to be here for another week. So I have a number. This one is actually haul. I do have some haul to show you guys at the end. Okay, this one is in a repurposed 31 large zipper pouch that I had from, I don't even know how long ago, Miriam Bright. Just a canvas tote. And in this I have my Christmas list by Silver Creek Samplers. I am stitching this on 25 count opalescent vanilla latte by Brandy AbbieSue. Sounds a trend here. And I was kind of doing a mix of the DMC as well as some of the fancy floss that Priscilla had used in her conversion where she stitched on blue fabric from Priscilla with the Stitching with the Housewives. So on the words, I stuck with the DMC, and then on the motifs, I'm kind of mixing and matching. I'm not entirely happy with what I've done. Let's say that it's somewhat personalized because I've made some mistakes, but it's also been interesting stitching over one on an opalescent because that's my first time doing that as well. Sorry, I had a needle here. So this is my, that's teeny tiny. This is my progress. I think when I showed it last year, I was up here near Turkey. So I've got, this was my progress this year. I did not get as much done on this as I wanted to this year. It is on my WIPCO board at least once, if not twice, to do another 2 phrases. I think there's 10 or 12 left. So if I, theoretically, if I did this In my mind, I say I want to do like Merry 25 stitching and stitch on the 25th of every month, and it doesn't happen. So inevitably the 25th is something going on, some random day of the week. The kids have activities and it doesn't work. So I tell myself that, but then it doesn't happen. Anyone else do that? So hopefully I can find a way to prioritize and get at least a little bit more progress on that one this year. I'm actually going to move these all back into this tote real quick so I can have a place to put all the new stuff. Two more bags. There we go. Okay. Okay. I have another 31 zipper pouch repurposed here. This one is Visit Hogsmeade. This is from Country Magic Stitch on Etsy. This is the pattern here. It is full coverage. Yes, even all the white at the bottom. I'll tell you how much I'm looking forward to that. I have purchased 4 of her patterns in the 4 fandoms that I have, kind of grew up following. Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and now later in life, not growing up, Game of Thrones. So I have Hogsmeade, King's Landing, the Shire, and Tatooine. I've started 2 of the 4. And this was a focus piece for January last year. It was on my WIP Go, and this was my progress. This was my New Year, New Start last year. So I've made it down pretty much through the whole sky, and this is the tops of the buildings and mountains kind of coming through, getting into the village. I don't believe this is on my WIP Go board this year. I'm not sure that Tatooine is either. I think with some of the other projects I'm trying to focus on, these are kind of in that middle size, so it's not a huge area of focus. But I definitely want to, touch them at least once throughout the year. I do like them, and I do eventually want to have all 4 hanging in my craft room. I'm stitching them all on 18 count Aida, just to kind of make it easy. All right, next. So you know what next? Let me grab Tatooine. I should be able to find it. Of course, I say that, and now I can't find it quickly. Now I had enough easy grid Aida, and this is the Tatooine pattern that was right next to it. And I was thinking, because I'm now watching the Book of Boba Fett. Did anybody watch? What did you think? No spoilers, but I'd love to know what you think. So this is also being stitched on 18 count Aida. I only had like so much of the easy grid. So Hogsmeade is stitched just on regular straight up Aida from Joann's, and the other 3 are going to be stitched on this easy grid 18 count Aida that I got from Charting Creations. I will flat out say this stuff is like, I mean, I know it's got the orange stripe, it's Swagger, but this is like toilet paper, like sandpaper. It's like that really bad gas station toilet paper that no one wants to use. You know what I'm talking about? This is horrific. That's how far I am. So I was thinking that with the Book of Boba Fett, and then like Mandalorian season 2 is still coming out as well, or season 3. I'm blanking. Should be season 3. With that, I can maybe just dedicate that to some of that stitching. Okay. This one I started over the summer. And I wanted to stitch a Quaker. I never stitched a Quaker before. I liked the idea of it, but couldn't really find one I liked. And then, so I wanted one that was a little more traditional, but not huge. So I found this, and I haven't seen a lot of people stitch this. It's by Kathy Barrick. It is AHTEE. It's a reproduction of an 1806 Quaker sampler. And the stitch count on this one came out in 2020. I'm not sure the stitch count offhand. I'd have to open it up. But I am stitching this. Oh, so MPBC, all our initials in our family. So I was thinking about taking the AER out and putting an SAW in, and then we would have all of our initials, and and then I would change the initials here for my husband and I and put our wedding year in there. So I ended up stitching this. I started it on a piece of Jody fabric. I do belong to Jody of the Steel City Stitchers. I belong to her Flosstube, or Steel City Stitchers is her Flosstube. I belong to her Fabric of the Month Club. And this is a piece of 36 count linen that I received, I want to say one of the first or second months. It's pretty bright pink. And I've just got a little bit of a start on it there, center start, and I'm stitching this with baking tin. It's a nice gray. We'll see how this turns out. It's not very traditional, and I'm trying to kind of push my limits with that. I'm also generally one of those people who just like wants to try and follow the pattern. So this is definitely pushing me out of my comfort zone a bit, but that's not a bad thing. So yeah. And while it's going to have our initials and stuff, it's not like a gift for my husband. If it goes anywhere, it'll be in my craft room. So it is all good. Okay. What we got next? These were two kits, small kits I got at Joann's on clearance. And they were in the clearance section, and it was one of those like take an extra or whatever off the clearance section. And this is kind of hokey and goofy, but they're cute. They're called Stitch and Mat. So they come with a mat that you basically stitch on the fabric and fray the edges and then mount it on a piece of paper that's included, and it fits in an 8x10 frame. So this paper is included, and then the stitching is this watercolor pumpkin. It's a full kit. And it's just got the little piece of Ada. It's 18 count Ada, which is nice that it's small. 18 count is my 18 or 20 count is my go-to on Ada, which is nice. So I got this on clearance for $1.50. Not bad. Fabric and floss and pattern included. And then I got this one, Succulents, which I thought was also super cute for the same. And I have not started the pumpkin, but I did start Succulents, and that's all I've done on it. Now, this is another one that should be a start and finish. These aren't huge. It doesn't have a stitch count, but on 18 count Ada, it says it's 4.5 by 3.25. It's not big. Obviously, I mean, the fabric's not that big. So this would be a nice piece. I'd like to get both of them done and just finish them because I think they're cute and they'd be little smalls to put in my craft room. I don't have a stitching journal, so but that might be a good one to try and just mount on some board and maybe try a flat fold or something. Right. Next, so this one I think I have a start date on this one. Which I haven't been saying my start dates, but this one is A Year of Blackwork by Peppermint Purple. It's a free stitch along. This is the 2021. Sorry, This is the 2020 chart, the one from 2020. I started this in August, though I started way late. This is what it's going to look like finished. And they did a gradient of different colors. Rachel Ray was stitching this, and that's how I found out about this. And I believe she stitched in, I think, the called for colors on here, if I remember correctly. So there are 52 blocks on here, and each block represents a week of the year. She also did, Peppermint Purple did a similar one for 2021, which I also downloaded, but I haven't started. I haven't finished this one. I am stitching this on 18 count oatmeal Aida, and I am stitching this all in DMC. I believe it's 910, just green. That's my progress. So because I started mid-year, I started center of the fabric and have been working my way up. So, but this was my first try at Blackwork. I actually really like it, and I want to focus more on this. So I have on my WIP board to finish at least 4 blocks of this in the month that it's called. But I hope to pick this up and be able to work on this. This is also another one that's good for traveling because it's one color and one thread, and the only thing with that is it's not in Pattern Keeper because it's Blackwork, so I have to deal with paper pattern, but it's still fairly easy to travel with. All right. Also for 12 Days of Stitching last year, I started the 12 Days of Christmas by Satsuma Street, and I'm choosing, you can either stitch it all as one piece with a border or individual ornaments. I'm doing individual ornaments. I don't have any currently in process. I finished 3 of the 12. So I have finished, and I'm stitching all of these on 28 count Monaco 1/1. So they're tiny. So I have number 1, I have number 4, and I have just making sure the right side up, number 5. These are super fun to stitch. They're also not that difficult. They're good for, movie marathon kind of deal. I finished number 4, the 4th one I finished in 2 days. I think 5 took me 3 days, and 1 didn't take me very long. So I definitely would like to stitch the 2 turtle doves, the 3 French hens, and I like the 10 Lords of Leaping. Yeah, I think that's cute. So I'd like to get those 3 done this year. We'll see how it goes. I do have this on my WIP at least once, if not twice. If it's on there, it's either 2 or 4 ornaments to finish. So hopefully make my way through that. This one is a project that I purchased and started in college and came across last year after I started my Flosstube. And so it is a kit that I purchased at the time. When I started college, I started in architecture before I switched to engineering. And I've always been fascinated with Lloyd Wright architecture. I was visiting the Dana House in Illinois and doing it. Actually, no, I wasn't at Dana House. I'm trying to remember where we were at. I know I went to Roby House, went to Unity Temple, been to a number of them in the Illinois area. We also have a couple local here in the Detroit area. But this, I love Lloyd Wright stained glass. So when I went in the gift shop at one of the Lloyd Wright sites, they had this cross-stitch pattern. There's actually two different ones that I purchased. This one is the Dana House. It's called Fountain Art Glass. It is down here. It references Heartland House Designs, and it does say www.heartlandhouse.com. Now, when I found this last year, I pulled up the website and it did appear you could buy the chart. It didn't appear to be a kit anymore, but it looked like you could still buy this chart. This is the chart. I mean, how cool is that? How cool is that? Super cool. So it's an even weave. I believe it's 28 count. It looks very similar to Monaco, to be honest. I started stitching this on here, and yes, this painter's tape is 25-ish years old. How long had I? Well, because I think that would have been, yeah, it would have been early in college. So this is the start that I had on it back then. And to be honest, I found in the kit here 2 rolls of Krynic. I don't know if those thin lines, I haven't looked at the chart to be honest, but I don't know if these really super thin lines are all Krynic, because I don't know why I would have had 2 spools of Krynic in here. I don't know. So that will be fun to find out. I don't believe I put this on my whip coat either, but I definitely do want to pick this up at some point and touch this year. And I think given the kind of linear nature of it, it would stitch up. I hate to say it would stitch up real quick, but I think it would stitch up faster than some of the more complicated full coverage pieces I have. All right. This here is, I think, the next project that I'm going to UFO. I would still like to stitch this someday, but not like this. And I will show you what I mean. So this project is, as I said, I love all things Disney, and I love the Haunted Mansion. And I found this was the Haunted Mansion, all the attractions have attraction posters, and this is the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland. This is their poster. This is 28 count easy grid Ada. I hate this fabric. I hate this fabric. This is, it's horrific. On top of which, this is like so much fill-in. And I'm sorry, this is not 20. Yeah, this is 20 count. And it is, I'm stitching it 2/1. I love the coverage. I mean, I love the coverage. It's solid. Love it. Hate the fabric. And it is a lot of floss. I mean, that green, I have 18 skeins of it for this chart. Now, the other problem with this chart is a chart from Hades. I have tried to, so basically, I had to blow this up and try and spread it across a bunch of different pages because, yeah, I couldn't make it work. And I'm just gonna, it's so tiny. Like this is as blown up as I could get it because I have an 11x17 printer. And I'm just gonna flash this like super fast, but like, okay, you'd never be able to stitch from that. But this is how it comes from the Etsy seller. Now, I mean, I would like to email her again and see if she's upgraded to be Pattern Keeper compatible. If this was in Pattern Keeper, I would have 0 issues with this. But when you have a chart that is 180 wide and you chart it to fit on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, 10 squares is the size of my finger. That's 10 squares. I don't use mag eyes. I can stitch on 40 count without readers. Without that, I cannot read this chart. Horrific. So I was going to make this for a friend, and to be honest, I don't have enough stitching time available to put into something that is driving me just bonkers. I love her to death, but this isn't going to be it. So I was thinking what I might do is I might just restart this because I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I am not that far along. I may restart it on 25 count Lugana, the Easy Grid Lugana, and then just do it 2/110 stitch. So hopefully it goes much faster. Or I will also email the seller on Etsy and see if she's updated her PDFs to be Pattern Keeper compatible. If she has, that could be a game changer as well. So that is in the UFO panel. Okay. This is a cross stitch kit called by Design Works Crafts, stained glass ornaments. This is on 14 count plastic canvas. I've stitched 2, the bell and the tree. I'm back stitching on the bell. I'm in process of that. Tree I've not yet back stitched. All the stitching is done. So this is plastic canvas. This is special to me because this is how I learned to stitch with my grandmother. The tree behind me, I still have some of the ornaments that we stitched together on, and how she taught me to stitch on even the larger plastic canvas, right, where you're using yarn instead of floss. I still have some of those ornaments on my tree, and they mean a lot to me. And I wanted to make a couple sets of these for my sons to have from me. So they picked their 4 favorite like motifs from this, and those are the ones I'm going to stitch, and we'll finish them together. I'm even trying to see if I can get them to stitch one with me. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's okay. So this is just, I got this on Amazon as a kit. So it came with all the DMC and the plastic canvas, but you can buy more plastic canvas at Joann's. So, yep. Next I have, this was the 2020 Stitchonomy Halloween sale. And the way Stitchonomy's sales work is they have a Facebook group, but you sign up with their newsletter and you sign up for the sale. And as long as you sign up before the sale closes, which is usually about a month or 2 before it starts, the sale is free. And then after that, it closes. And once the sale begins, then it's only available to members. And then after the sale is complete, she puts it in her store and you can purchase it. So I joined in on the 2020 version. I also I downloaded the 2021, but I have not stitched it. This is an orange piece of 18 count Ada that I got from Brandy Abbey Stitch Me in a Friday Night Fight Night. It's bright orange, like an orange sherbet kind of color. And it's not labeled, so I don't think it's for creamsicle, but it's similar from what I've seen other people post. Now this was charted in a grid format with the blocks. I found this coffin shaped tray at Joann's made out of wood, and I traced it and I mapped out the 31 squares to fit inside the coffin. So I have the border done, but I don't have any of the blocks stitched. Yeah, so it does say 2020 Halloween at the top, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. So this is on my WIP Go to fill in at least 5 blocks. I'm also hoping that some of these will meet some stitching challenges, and or I will get on board with doing some like dark 13 stitching or that kind of stuff and make that a priority. It'd be great if I had that done for Halloween this year. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I'm also not sure that I'm going to stitch with all Stitchonomy blocks inside there. I have a couple of other free sales that I found online that I've downloaded here and there. I do have her 2020 and 2021 blocks to choose from because they're different. So, and those are charted to be the same size because she makes them interchangeable every year. So there's some playing around I have to do. That's probably the other reason why I wasn't starting, because at the time I was kind of overwhelmed with, well, this person modified this and they did this and they did this, and it just was too much for me. So hopefully I could kind of lock in with what I want at this point and just go for it. Just need to do it. All right. This one was part of my 12 days of stitching last year. It was a day I did not have much time to stitch, and I will tell you this is a pathetic start. And you'll be surprised to know that it is stitched on a piece of grog from Stitch Me. This is 18 count Ada. The pattern is Forest by Satsuma Street. I love this pillow. I love it. It's so fun. I don't know. I love the colors. I love the shape of the trees. I love this. This is my amazing start on it. I think I had all of like an hour to like figure out what fabric I was using, find the center, measure it out, and then put one thread length in there. I think if I go by the Sunshine Stitcher standards, EJ and Sheila would not count that as a WIP. So I had this on WIP Go for this year, and that was one of the months I did not meet my goals. Obviously did not get touched. I do not believe I have it on for next year. I love it though. I don't want to give up on it. I just don't know when I'm going to focus on it. So see how that goes. All right. This is another UFO. So this is the one that was on that blue piece of Scotsman fabric that had the Disney snow globe pattern on it. And this is Chalk Talk, Let's Talk Winter. I started this as part of 12 days of stitching last year. I just got the W done up here. To be frank, there's 3 skeins of 3865 on this. You'll see on my head has an excessive amount of 3865. I was not mentally prepared to deal with 3865. That cream white color in large amounts. This one also, I was not loving it on that blue fabric, and I now have a piece of dirty chalkboard that Ada that I want to stitch this on. I ended up with a fat half of it, so it's being UFO'd on that blue fabric, but I will come back to this, and this will be a WIP when I restart it. I just don't know when that's going to be. I do want to stitch that one. I have, so that's the Let's Talk Winter, and I have the, I think it's Let's Talk Stitching, the one where it has like hoops and floss and bobbins and that kind of stuff. Which I think I would actually rather stitch that one first over winter. So. All right, moving right along. We're not too far from the end here. This is my Prairie Schooler Santa. So last year, I, as part of 12 days of stitching, I stitched 2 Prairie Schooler Santas because Katie and Laura gave us prompts last year that we were to follow, and one was to stitch on a Santa with working copy with a garland or wreath, and so I picked this one right here. See that? And then I think there was some. I picked this one with the pineapple as well, and that might have just been a no prompt one, but I love pineapples, and yeah, so I got that, and I had this like khaki colored Ada, which I didn't really like the color of. It was like, I think when I looked at it and I talked about it in my last Flosstube, or the Flosstube when I did this last year in December, it was like bad foundation from the 80s is what it reminded me. It was just a really bad khaki color. So I tea and coffee dyed this and then put it in the oven. The backside's got a little toasty, but this was my progress on the one with the wreath. So that's a pretty decent start. And then this was my start on the one with the pineapple. And I stitched the pineapple in, and to be fair, I'm pretty disappointed that the pineapple basically just blends into the fabric. Now, I did buy, when I was in Cape May, New Jersey this summer, I bought this year's Prairie Schooler, and right next to it, she's like, look, we have the fabric already cut for you. And I was like, oh, okay, well, then I'll take it, because that's what you do. And I will say, this is the called for, which according to this is 18 count putty khaki Davos. So this is the Davos, and this is mine. So you can tell the difference in the color. What I don't know though is if that pineapple would show up that much better if it was on this kind of fabric. I know it's not showing up on this, so I don't really have any incentive to stitch this one much more unless I change the fabric to be lighter so that pineapple stands out. But this one I do like, and I would finish. So again, this is on my WIP list. This is not on WIP Go, I don't believe, but it would probably factor into 12 days of stitching next year as something I would want to close out and get done. If not, stitch this one at least. So. Okay. Now we're getting into some of the, we get the big ones left. Okay. This project is called Turtle. From Etsy. This is the pattern right here. And this one is stitched like full coverage. That's white stitched everywhere. No, not gonna happen. So I'm stitching this on 16 count Aida, if I remember this correctly. 14 count, sorry, 14 count Aida. I'm looking at my cheat sheet here. And I wanted this because I'm not stitching in the white. I wanted the colored portion to really be full coverage in that area without any kind of show through. And I also liked the idea of the texture difference. So I'm stitching this with 4 strands instead of 2 strands. So it's extra plump, but it's also extra hard to pull through the holes. So this makes my thumbs tired. Now, this was on my WIP Go last year, and I did stitch on it. But for some reason in my mind, I put it down as a finish. I thought I had like 2,000 stitches left. It had like 6,000 stitches left. It's deceptive of how many stitches are left on this thing. So this is my progress. I did make a significant amount of progress from where I was at my WIP Parade last year. I think I put about 1,300 stitches into it, but it is not finished. And because of the 4 strands, it takes a long time to pull through. It's not as like fast as normal stitching. I can't even try this sewing method. This Aida, as you can tell, is like rigid. I need to press this. But I love this piece and I want to finish this, but again, I don't know. I definitely want to make some progress on this one this year though. I just know it probably won't be a finish. And I think I'm okay with that. But it was one of my earlier WIPs. I started that one, well, I guess not. I started that on May of 2020. Oh yeah. Yeah, I did start that really early. Because I started my Hade. I guess I started this before my Hade. This is my oldest WIP. I didn't realize that. Okay. And it's in a Garon something bags bag, which I thought was really cute. I had no idea that was my oldest WIP. Ooh, okay. This is why we should take notes. All right. This is another project that I'm going to UFO. And it's in this amazing Garon bag, which I have a new project coming that is going to go in this bag. But this was my home for Christmas, and this was by Fuzzy Fox Designs. There was nothing wrong with this pattern. It was a mystery sale. It was my first year. I got very involved in, oh, well, let's do a stitch along. Let's do a stitch along. And when everything was revealed, it just wasn't my style. And then I felt compelled to finish it, even though it really wasn't my style. And that's okay. It's not my style. But anyway, kind of like stitcher's guilt, I guess. So I stitched this, and then the white, so this is an oatmeal Aida, 18 count Aida from like Michael's or Joann's. I ended up having to stitch this white border because I didn't pick a fabric that it stood out enough. I stitched that with like 3 strands, which took forever and kind of stunk. And then when I stitched this one of these is too far over, so then this house here was going to hit the border, and I had already finished the bottom. Home for Christmas. It wasn't going to look right, and that was just bothering me. I think some of these little, so basically every week a different little house was released, and it was like 16 little houses, I think. And they're super cute. And I think I would stitch some of them as smalls, but I don't have a need to put something like this on my wall as one piece. So this is going to get UFO'd. Anything that I've said I'm UFOing, if there's some reason someone wants, if you want this, I can send it to you. I don't know. I don't know that anyone would want this. I am UFOing it, so that's just that. Okay. We have a big Black Needle Society Frogworks bag. So this has 2 years worth of Frogworks charts in it, keeping them in here together with all of the flaws. One of these is a UFO and one is almost done. So year 1, I stitched on Honey by Stitch Me on 36 count linen. I've decided I'm going to stitch them all on 36 count linen. And the more I stitch this, especially with the red and the words, and then the coral pink colored umbrella for Hagrid's umbrella, I just do not like. It's really hard to tell, but this is like really a peachy fabric, and I really don't like the way it looks. So I've decided I'm going to restitch that. I only was that far. Now, it's a pretty cool sorting hat, but I'm not far enough to invest any more time, effort, or fancy floss into that. So I can repurpose this fabric for something else. This one is stitched. This was year 2, so this was this past summer, in the summer of 2021. They hold Frogworks Retreat every year. The box for Frogworks Year 3 went on sale today to the public. And this is stitched on 36 count My Precious by Stitch Me. And this is how far I am. I need to finish the words across the bottom and then the head of the basilisk. And there's, I think, like a couple things up here in this corner. But other than that, it's done. So, yeah. So this one's close to being done. This one should be a finish for this year. I should also have year 3 also done as part of the retreat this year. So let me just fold this up. Then this year, like I said, year 3, it'll be interesting to see what phrases and what things make it onto the bag or onto the band sampler. Some people are stitching them all as one big piece. I'm stitching them on individual pieces of fabric. Okay. Next up was another stitch along that I did. Started in August of last year. This is from Jean Farish Needleworks. And at that point, I had not started that Quaker sampler. You can see that my aesthetic is not samplers, typically, not vintage samplers. So this is a chart called Roxy, and this is I would say like kind of an homage to a sampler called Roxana Corson, which is located in Cape May, New Jersey. The sampler is on display at the Cape May Judicial Building. I'm trying to see if I had one of the later ones here that had kind of more of the, no, okay, a little bit more stitched on it than I have. So this was, you paid for the chart as a stitch along, and then there's a bunch of specialty stitches in this, and what Jean Farish did is she recorded YouTube videos that were exclusive to those who bought the chart to kind of go along with the instructions that came with every release. There were 6 releases over 6 months, and it was fun. And then there were a couple Zooms that we did as a group for those who wanted to join in. and I had a good time. I learned a lot. I hadn't done really any specialty stitches, and I had not done a sampler. What I learned from Jean Farish is more classical techniques, and the way she does basting and line to use that to locate different motifs within samplers, I think is very smart. And maybe it's obvious to everybody else, but I did learn a lot. And I think I know Jean Farish is teaching some additional Zoom classes this year, and she's doing, I think she's going to set Fire Poppies, and then she's going to LNS to do classes, I think, up in New York, I believe, as well. But if you don't watch her Flosstube, it's not about haul or whips and all that stuff. A lot of it is answering questions, and she shows her progress on her projects and on some of the stuff she's working on. But most of her stuff is oriented around her teaching and different items. But she does show specialty stitches. She answers questions, and just kind of gives like feedback on stitching in general, which I find nice as well. Very different. Releases every Saturday typically, and except when she's traveling or taking time off for Christmas and stuff, etc. But if you haven't watched Jean Farish, I would check it out because that's totally different than most of the Flosstubes I watch. But that's why it's fun, I think. That being said, when I decided to stitch this, oh, there's a needle. When I decided to stitch this sampler, I decided that on top of learning how to stitch a sampler and how to do specialty stitches, it would also be my first time stitching on 40 count linen. And yeah, so I actually like 40 count, and this is my progress on Rock. Now, Roxana Corson's sampler is much more muted, and what she did is she recharted this in some brighter colors. She does a lot of her designs in Cosmo, and then she said that if Roxana was alive today, she would probably be called Roxy, so that's why this is the Roxy sale. Now, I am going to be, so this border continues kind of all the way down, and this is meant to be this long. So there is, I think, 3 more alphabets that come in here, or 2 or 3 more alphabets, and then there's a big phrase, and then there's kind of like wrought by my hands and our names and where we live and whatnot. I don't like the quote that's in there. I also don't like the fact that this alphabet that's here that I've started is Algerian islets. It only goes through to R, and that bothers me. I'm a completist. Anyway, so I may be recharting this, and I mentioned this on a previous Flosstube, but I found a quote from Coco, the movie, that I like that's more about being remembered. I also have a quote from Happily Ever After, the fireworks that were just retired at Magic Kingdom. So I've charted out a couple things. I'm playing around with it, but essentially I think I'm going to finish that alphabet, skip the next alphabet, do my quote, and I kind of stopped all work on the border until I know how far down I'm going to go. But it's a fun stitch. I really do like it. And this is in my project bag that I made myself. Well, and I put my little Eiffel Tower charm on it. Now she did chart this in Cosmo as well, but she did offer DMC conversions, and I'm stitching it in DMC. And actually, her Flosstube this week, she mentioned that there were people asking about possibly doing it again this year, like doing another session of Roxy. So if it is something that interests you, check it out. You might be able to go and join in and do that. This one next. So next I mentioned Disney a lot, and when the pandemic started and everything shut down, Disney closed, and that having a whole year of Disneyland being closed was sad and crazy and all the emotions, right? So one of the things that I had purchased and wanted to stitch was this Disneyland map here. Now, I'll tell you that on Etsy, some people are listing that as the Magic Kingdom map. It is not the Magic Kingdom map. For those of you who are not into Disney, you know that. There's this big mountain here. That is the Matterhorn, and that does not exist in Florida. So, anyway, just thought I'd clarify. There's other differences, but that's the biggest one that you can see. They also have the old like Nautilus and other things there that are not there anymore, and whatnot. So I am stitching this as a like max color version apparently because mine has like 102 colors, and I know Handwork Maniac is also stitching it, but hers only has 50 colors. I didn't see that 50 color version. So I started stitching this on, this is 25 count easy grid. Now this is huge. It's huge. And all I have in it is this little bitty start down here, which is the bottom corner of Jungle Cruise. I am not sure that I am going to stitch this. I love the chart, but it'll take me forever to finish it. I want to finish my other heids first. And while, like I said, I can probably repurpose this fabric for something else. It's a lot of fabric. So the other thing is this is full coverage with all of the surrounding here. All of this is stitched in white. Now, Handwork Maniac is smart. She stitched hers on blue, so it looks like the sky. What I'm concerned with is I don't want to stitch all that white. It's like 80,000 stitches in white. I'm doing this 2/110, and when I tried the 2/110 stitch in white, it was a disaster. It looks extremely messy, and I hate it. So I'm not sure how to handle that because I'm afraid that the lines from Easy Grid may not all come out completely. I haven't done this. So if I say I'm not going to stitch it and I just leave it and then the lines don't come out, it's going to look like a mess. And then I won't have lines to follow to stitch it in. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do on this. I don't really want to stitch that much white, but I'd like to try and pull some motifs or something out of it. I don't know. So it's definitely not getting UFO'd today, but it is definitely on the back burner, and it is not on my WIP Go, is not a focus piece or anything for 2021 while I kind of figure out what I want to do with it. Another big project, I told you I saved my big ones till the end here. Another big project I have is the Harry Potter book covers that I was working on by Fox and Teacup Designs. And that is this one here, where it's kind of a hodgepodge of all of the Harry Potter book covers put together. I have this one on my scroll rods. And this is my progress on this so far. So this is my progress on book 1, book 2, book 3, and into book 4. So now that I have it on the scroll rods, I started moving across just because it's easier that way. This one I will work on, here and there, but this is also not my focus piece for this year. So, I mean, I have a lot of big projects, a lot of these. I mean, even the Tatooine and the Hogsmeade ones, those are 22,000 stitches. It's not insignificant. So I kind of have to pick and choose, and this is just not it for this year. I will definitely work on it. It's on my WIP Go at least once for like 2,000 stitches, but I started that one. Should I have that one on here? I started this one. It was like Labor Day weekend. It was September 2nd, 2020. So, all right. Then second to last here this is my mini white magnolia Hade. This is my focus piece for this year. This is why it's still on the scroll frame. It is artwork by Marianne Broom and charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. This is the artwork right here. That's what it's going to look like. I have finished one page plus working in a bunch of the parked threads. Kind of see there and where the page lines are. This is 25 count Lugana Easy Grid. I am stitching this 2/1 stitch. And yeah, my back is not that bad. So, anyway, this is the piece that I'm going to use for 22,000 stitches in 2022 for full coverage fanatics. I currently have, I believe, just over 9,000 stitches in this for one page. So I should get roughly 2.5 pages, or roughly over where baby Grogu is here, if I continue straight across. It's 2.5 pages tall, and then I think 5 pages across. So I would be at 3.5. Anyway, and this is the mini version from Heaven and Earth. Yeah, I like this one a lot, and after focusing on my next one, my other Hade, this year for 21,000 stitches, I just felt like it would be better to switch it around. So that is that one. And well, I'll do my Hade next, and then I have one more. Okay, so this was my focus piece for 2021. I did complete 21,000 stitches in 2021. I finished on New Year's Eve. I was live stitching with some friends, and it was very exciting. I'm proud of myself that I did it. So this is stitched on 18 count Ada, just from Joann's. I have gridded it myself using metallic sulky, which I learned about from, I think Rachel Ray did one of hers that way, and then I found out some other YouTube videos that showed how you do that. This is Floral Bird of Paradise. You've seen my channel before, you've seen this piece, I'm sure. This is what it looks like right here. The artwork is by Joe Lynch and charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. As I said, I've never seen anyone stitch this. There isn't anything in the finished gallery for this piece under Heaven and Earth. So if anyone else is stitching this, let me know. I'd love to have a stitch buddy for this. I am doing, it's not a max color, max size. It's the largest size it is, but this one is only in one size. I believe it's 400 by 400, I think, or 450 by 450. I think it's just over 202,000 stitches, and I'm stitching it on, as I said, 18 count Ada, and this is just regular Ada from Michaels. I got this right when everything shut down, and I will tell you that this is the softest Ada I've ever found, and I have not been able to find anything like this since. So I apologize again, this is not pressed, but this is what it is. But yeah, actually I'll do the far away view here. You can see how big it's gonna be and how much I've done. Okay, there. And then giving you the up close version. So when I started last year, or this year, I started a year ago, 2021, I had 7,800 stitches in it, focused mainly on this border piece, and I would come down and do it right about here on the green area. All of this has been added this year, and I do have a pocket here that came under the Q snap that is not stitched, but essentially all of this is all stitched. I think you guys can see that. It's all 3685 and 3770. 23 skeins. There's a lot of black too, but because this border goes all the way around, and it's 3685 in between the two borders. So I made it to orange. I don't know if I'll make it down to the purple this year. I'd love to make it to the purple part, but I'm not that far off. So I'm up here, over here, there's some purple kind of coming down into here, but it's really I kind of wanted to end on that corner. If I ended up here with all this 3865, I would never finish this. Never. I can guarantee it. So I tried to pick the busiest corner to be where I finish. So that is that. I love this piece. It's my baby. It's my baby. Sorry again that it's not ironed or anything, but fresh off of my Q-snap for all the work I put in on that. So I will probably iron that, and then I am planning on doing full coverage fanatics on top of the 22,000 in 2022. They have a biking around Germany challenge that is a total of like 34,000 stitches, and I'm going to do 22,000 of them on White Magnolia, but the balance 12,000, 15 or 12 or 13,000, I would envision coming back to Bird of Paradise and doing them on that. Or I may stick with Mini White Magnolia. We'll see how much of a roll I'm on, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. All right, last WIP, not least, but last WIP, it's not very impressive, is my 36, it's on 36 count antique white linen. And I started this last year for my birthday start. And this was, as I mentioned, I started doing Blackwork. I really liked Blackwork. I saw somebody stitch this piece in a Flosstube and I fell in love with it. And then I came up with the idea I wanted to do monochromatic March. So I started that kind of hashtag with some folks last year. We did that. Just anybody stitching on a monochromatic piece. It didn't matter how big or small, but you know, and I think I will revive that again for my birthday this year. I do plan to stitch on this on my birthday. This is called Save the Stitches, a Blackwork Journey by Elizabeth Almond. This is the first page of blocks 1 through 5 to give you an idea of what that looks like. So each kind of segment has blocks filled in, but this is how many blocks there are. So that was blocks 1 through 5. They go up to 134 blocks. As you can imagine, I did not get that far. So it does have metallics, it has beads, it's amazing, but I am stitching this. It calls for DMC and then pearl cotton. And so each of the blocks is outlined with cross stitch and then filled in with Blackwork. The cross stitch is charted to be stitched in pearl cotton, and then the Blackwork is set to be done in DMC. I am stitching it in sulky, and so I have sulky 12 weight to do the cross stitch in place of the pearl cotton, and then I have 30 weight to do in place of the 1 strand of DMC. So I still have a difference in thickness and weight, and the amount of times you use these holes to make these patterns, you need thin 1 strand. Don't try and do this with anything more than that. I do have several of the metallic threads, which, to be fair, I haven't gotten too far in, and I might switch to diamant over those. I like that better than that light effects, whatever that nonsense is. And then I have some millhole beads here, just 3. I think they had silver, gold, and white, and I swapped out the silver for the purple to match my stitching, because I'm not stitching it in black, I'm stitching it in purple. So that being said, here's my amazing start. Again, I'll show you kind of the full back view of how big this will be and how far I am. And this is what I've done. So I've outlined those first blocks, and you can kind of see the Blackworks filled in there. And I have a little bit of the metallic. I am going to do the metallic as I go. Sorry, it's not really focusing. I will do the metallic as I go, but I'll save the beads till the end. So I love this. It was so fun to stitch on. When I pulled it out for this WIP Parade, I was like, oh, why haven't I been working on this? Which that's what a WIP Parade is supposed to do, right? So it's good, but I want to work on this. So I did put this on my WIP Go board, I believe, to do a number of blocks on that as well. This pattern is very intricate. It's like 50, 60 pages for this pattern, so it's kind of massive. And again, I'm just stitching that on plain 36 count antique white linen from 123 Stitch. So my big project bag, thick project bag. All right, that is it. That's my WIP Parade. Ta-da! I hope you enjoyed it. I do have like kind of a wider range of things. I don't have a lot of prim. I don't have a lot of samplers, although a couple are sneaking in. I do have about 34 projects kitted up, and I really do want to whip down this year. So I got to try and be very conscious about what I actually start. On top of the challenges I mentioned, I'm also going to participate in the Sunshine Stitchers. They're doing a designer focus, a monthly focus on a particular designer, and they've picked the designers for all the months of 2022. And I think they're doing that with, I don't know if it's with Carolyn Zook, and maybe the 614 Stitcher. I apologize, I don't know. But it's Sunshine Stitchers with some other folks, but they're kind of making that, and they're going to come out with a hashtag for it, hopefully in their next YouTube video this weekend in Flosstube. But EJ and Sheila and Gary, and watching Gary kind of pull out his plans of what he's going to work on, it's cute. My other WIPCO square is a new start, and that is Leilani, the hula dancer, which is a Mirabilia. So I am going to participate in their January challenge because Mirabilia Nora Corbett is the designer for the month. And I did a little bit of shopping. So I have a little mini haul. This won't take very long. I had 3 kind of purchases, shopping trips that I wanted to highlight. And before I kind of wrap up here, I ordered from Pam, Stitching in the Land of Good Enough here on Flosstube. But as I mentioned before, Pam opened her own LNS in North Attleboro, Massachusetts. And it's called Stitch New England. And I'm so proud of her. She's doing amazing. And I love to hear her updates from the shop, even though I'm not close by. It's so great to hear what she's got going on. So I placed an order with her and got a couple things. I'm really trying to be good about buying things this year. So I fell in love with these little sleds that she had done. And so I picked this pattern out. It's Foxwood Crossings, and this is the mini village. So they have the 3 sleds as the village, or you can stitch it all together as one piece. So I thought that was cute. And I have some perforated paper to go with that. And then I also really loved the idea behind Autumn Lane Stitchery came out with this chart, Autumn Town. And I don't know if you're familiar with it. I haven't seen people stitching it yet, but I've seen a couple people show that they bought it. So it's stitched, I apologize for the glare, it's stitched on green fabric. And then so that's all negative space in the village, and then the sky is stitched. So the village itself is full coverage, but where the green pops through, that's all fabric. And I love the way they played with the negative space there. It's brilliant. The called for is Apple Harvest by Mountaineer Fabrics, but because Pam can match fabric and pick things out for me, she picked out this 36 count needle and flax in Green Acres, and I love it. I think it's going to look fabulous. So it looks just like the pattern. It's going to be perfect. So thank you, Pam. And I did pick up a couple of the flosses to go with that. It's charted in some DMC and some fancy floss. So I think I have a couple of those as well. So that's exciting. And I don't know that I'll start that this year at all, but I really fell in love with it and I wanted to kit it up. So I can start it if I decide to, and I get a bunch of finishes. The other thing I got was Annie Joyfield Stitcher had shared that she got this project bag custom made by Fiddle Feathers on Etsy, and I believe the shop owner's name is Mariah. she sent a lovely little note. I had the back is very simple and plain, which is, but look at it's just classic, and I love it. I love the font, the Ray Dunn font. No, I don't collect that, but then the way she does her zipper pulls is just kind of like little different like ribbons and whatnot and trims, and it has a little bell on it. But very cute project bag. I really do like it, and I put my new autumn town shirt in it. It fits perfect. So thank you to Fiddle Feathers on Etsy. You should check them out. And then the last stop I made. So between the holiday, as I said, Jennifer Frog Stitcher on Instagram is local to me and our LNS Stitches and Things in Fenton. And we went on just a little shopping trip together. And I am charting up Woodland Wonder, which Gary from Sunshine Stitchers stitched, and I love it. That's going to be my Glendon Place chart. And it's got a bunch of beads. So I got those. And then I got fabric. I've got, this is R&R in 32 count vellum. Sorry, it's kind of blowing out. There we go. So I think that'll be perfect. Now I just have to get the chart. They were sold out of the chart. So but I'm placing an order for that tomorrow. So should be all set. And then I also picked up, I told you I was going to stitch Leilani the Hula Dancer, which is a free chart by Mirabilia. I also picked up this, it's Vintage Tiffany. I don't know who this is by, but it is 32 count linen. And I love this blue. I ordered that. That chart also has some beads, and it is stitched with some DMC and some Karen water lilies. So I ordered those, and those should be here by this weekend. So since this is my January WIP Go Square, this will be a new start, probably hopefully by my next video. And I have put this in another repurposed 31 tote, which has pineapples on it. So, anywho. All right, that is really it. Those are my last little purchases. Like I said, I'm trying to be good going into 2022. And I wish you guys all the best. Thank you for those who stuck it out. I know this was a long one, but I appreciate you listening to the stories in the background. I love to hear why people have picked certain WIPs and what their plans are for it. So again, I would love for you guys to leave a comment down below and let me know what your favorite WIP of mine is, or when you do want to see me work on or finish, and or if we have any WIPs in common. I would love to be able to, stitch along with someone or tag people or check up on each other on our progress. So again, wish you guys all the best. Hopefully 2022 is a better year for all of us. And again, I'll see you guys soon, and we'll talk about January plans and future challenges and plans for the year. So thanks, and have a great one. Bye.